Rosanna Buchauer, welcome to the Running Land podcast.
Hello, nice to be here.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Thank you.
Yeah. How is the recovery from CCC? I mean, it's been about a month now that we are recording. Have you are the legs coming around a little bit?
Yes, I felt like the first 2 weeks after CCC, everything was really slow, and I took I think like 10 days without training at all. But now I feel really good again. So I did a faster session this morning, and the legs feel like they are back. So I think
Nice.
it's still going
So
great.
yeah, I was with Head and Hawks 10 days ago at Julian Alps in Slovenia. And he was still really tired from his race at CCC. So I was wondering if for you it was kind of the same. And I think now he's starting his off season and just resting after
Yeah.
pretty big year. So yeah, I guess it's different for everyone, and it's nice to hear that you're feeling good and you're probably motivated to train and
Yeah.
do some races at the end of the season. I mean, we were chatting a little bit about it. You have a big adventure coming up pretty soon. So do you want to share what's next for you?
Yes, sure. I'm going to a 5 day stage race in Bhutan. In about 10 days, I'm leaving, and the race is going to be in end of October. Yeah, and I think it's going to be very tough because it's going to be in high altitude, and it's more going to be an adventure compared to like a race to CCC where it was a lot about the time and the ranking. But I'm really looking forward because I've always wanted to go to Bhutan, and I think it's a cool chance if you get to go to a country that you've always wanted to visit due to your sports.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think one of the beauties of our sport is that we get to travel to some really nice places sometimes.
Yes.
We get to experience and travel the world. So yeah, when I do that, I feel super lucky. Like it's fun to go back to the same races where the competition is, like UTMB or Zagama, Sierra and all of that. But it's also fun to try new experiences and yeah, discover new
Yeah.
communities and places.
Yeah, and
Is that
especially in
yeah,
Bhutan. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
feel like um, there are gonna be locals, like the Bhutanese people. They're gonna run much faster just because they're used to the altitude. And as what I found out in like our we had a few brief meetings before, is that they use totally different equipment. So sometimes they don't even use like running shoes like we do. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to be much faster and what they use in nutrition and in shoes. And I hope that we have
Yeah,
some time, like the night camps, to chat with them and see how they approach running in high altitude and in nature and without like maybe the athlete perspective.
yeah, that's really cool. So do they like organize both those logistics of the race? Like they put you up with camps and everything and the race itself?
Yeah, so we have to carry like our mandatory equipment and our sleeping bag and nutrition and drinks for during the race. But at night, they provide like a fireplace, small tents, and real food. So we still have like a huge backpack. And at first, I was a little bit surprised. Why do we have to carry our sleeping bag? But I think once you really take longer than expected or something happens, you're gonna be very happy to have like a warm sleeping bag.
Yeah, you never know how cold it can get
Yeah, yeah,
up in those mountains. Yeah, it will be super wild and yeah, looks
yeah,
like a lot of fun.
yeah. I hope so. I'm really excited.
Cool. Is that going to be your last race for 2024?
Yes, yes. I
Nice.
start my off season directly afterwards, and then I'm going on a small vacation, and then I think until Christmas I will just chill and then start the new planning and new preparation.
Nice. It's nice to hear that you take a big off season. I don't
Yes.
think I will allow myself to rest for that long. Like I always have a hard time like really resting and not do anything like take proper time for, vacation. Yeah, for sure. like after my last race of the year, I will not run for probably 3 weeks. Usually it's 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
then yeah, my like the motivation is back and I see other people running and I want to run and you know how it goes.
What is your last race?
I'm actually doing a 75K trail race in about 10 days.
Oh. Mhm.
Initially I was planning to do the Golden Trail Series final, but then I changed my mind after seeing the course that I didn't really like, and I'm in a lucky
Mm.
position where I can choose pretty much what I want. Like the season is over, but I just wanted
Yes.
to do one last race, mostly for like to just to enjoy it.
Hmm.
So there is this opportunity in Italy, and I actually haven't raced much in Italy, like, except from a couple of uphill races this year.
Hmm.
So it's nice to run a proper trail race in my country, and also get an experience at a long race because honestly, I've done just a couple of 50-mile races, but I feel like I don't have a huge experience on that distance. So
Hmm.
it's good to get familiar with it if I want to
Yeah.
plan to run those distances.
Yeah. That sounds like a good season end.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to the off season.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. So before we dive into your race at CCC and maybe some of the key moments and your preparation for it, could you just give us a short presentation of who you are and where you live, maybe what you do besides running? I think the audience would love to know more about you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name is Rosanna. I am living in Austria, but I'm originally from Germany. I live close to Innsbruck in Austria, and that's also where most of my training happens. I do mostly running and cycling in the summer, but a lot of ski mountaineering in winter. I work 25 hours per week in innovation management at the tourism organization of Tyrol. And yeah, I think that's about like the facts.
Yeah, cool. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. The
It
Innsbruck
is.
area. Yeah, beautiful trails and mountains.
Hmm.
So much to do out there. I loved spending time there for the World Championship last year.
Yeah,
Was a really good experience.
it's
Yeah,
perfect for training. Like I
yeah.
don't have to take my car very often. I can do always depending on the weather. I have different options, and I really loved it.
You live in the city?
No, I live in a small village outside, so in winter I can even start with the skis behind my house. So
Wow. Yeah, very
yeah,
cool. But
yeah,
yeah, I think Innsbruck is a very like outdoor friendly city. Like it's,
yes,
everyone is cycling and climbing and hiking, running. It's very active and
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It is. It's you always find someone at least for like recovery hikes or like ski tours. It's really nice.
Yeah. Um, what do you like besides running and sports? I mean, I can imagine you don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to other things besides work and training, but yeah, what are some of your hobbies maybe?
Whenever I'm like having off season, or I sometimes try to combine it with a training camp, I love to go places where I can go. So I either do. Oh,
Oh, oh, I think
I think
you're,
we got cut off. Yeah, now we're
yeah,
back.
I lost you for a few seconds. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
repeat the answer and then I would
Um,
edit that out.
yeah, as I did for like training camps or like in off season, I love to travel places where I can go surfing.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm trying to learn Italian at the moment, which is taking some time, but I'm really bad at it. So if you can help or if you have any tips, I'm happy to hear. And yeah, and then I have a lot of friends outside of sports, which I think is really cool because they know I run a lot, but they don't really know what is like the difference in my trainings. They just know I'm out and I'm running. So yeah, that's also taking some time meeting them, chatting with them, and I think that's really cool because you get just always a different perspective and different insights and inputs, and I'm very happy about that because in the beginning I sometimes was a little bit like, I wish more of my friends would like join me on my runs or would understand. But now I'm so happy that I'm not just in the trail running bubble, that I also have a lot of, yeah, different perspectives and frames to my world.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really good. And yeah, it's not easy to maintain an identity outside of running and being an athlete, I think. Something that I struggle with sometimes.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's super important to think that, it's not just about running. There is a whole world outside of it. And yeah, how do you explain trail running to your friends who are not athletes or runners? Like what impression they have about what you do and the races that you do and the kind of things that you do.
I think to them it's often like I wonder if they sometimes think I'm losing my mind because it's just they understand a little bit if you go like for a run and if you run one summit, but like CCC 100 kilometers and that much elevation gain, they sometimes just openly ask me like why why would you do that? And um so I always explain that it's not just about the running, but it's about like this mental journey you kind of, yes, start when you do a race, and it's even much bigger than in training. And then we kind of have like this common topic to talk about, because I think no matter if you do sports or other hobbies or things you're really passionate about, you kind of seek something that challenges your mind, or where you kind of forget where you are and who you are maybe. And so I think it's really cool. Then sometimes I talk to some of my friends, they go to music festivals a lot, and then we compare like my journey on like a long run and their journey on like a long night, and it's not that different. It's like you kind of lose track of time, you don't know really what you were thinking, you kind of are in your own space, and then you come back to like the normal life. So
Yeah,
it's
not
very
not not so
interesting.
different.
Yeah, then they're like, okay, they understand. They still say like, well, I wouldn't do it. I would maybe run for 2 hours, but not for 12. But I think they also, most of them have known me even before I started to run, and they see that I'm still like kind of the person they know, but they also see that I'm super happy with that. They do not understand why I go up at 4 o'clock, or I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning before work or before meeting them to run. But then they see that that I'm in a really calm space when I'm with them, and I have a lot of energy. So I think they just understand that I like it, and that's about enough for them. And so yeah, that's how we usually talk about it. Sometimes they just check in. They're like, when we meet for brunch, they're like, so did you sleep today or did you go for a run? And I'm like, I already went for a run or a ski tour. And then they're like, okay. So it's I really like it. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really cool. Um, yeah, it made me think about uh, like sometimes I think we're in a privileged position, like athletes in general, sports people. I think there is nothing like sport that teaches you to appreciate the process and like the process of training and learning to get uncomfortable and yeah, dealing with, all the ups and downs of training and
Hmm.
racing and all of that. Yeah, probably there are not so many things in life that are so powerful and can teach you so much. So I always wonder how it looks from the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I talk to some people who are not runners, but yeah, I think most of my conversations are with people who kind of understand what running and endurance training is. So it's always, yeah, a little bit weird. So
Yeah, what I also find super interesting, some of my work colleagues told me that they feel like I am like I have my own rhythm. They say like it seems like I don't get stressed so easily, and I'm like at work having my own pace, my own rhythm, and if it's the same in running, and I'm like, I don't know, I just have like this, because of running I have this structure in my daily life, and then when I'm running I'm fully into running, when I'm at work I'm fully at work, and that maybe that seems like I know where I'm at, and that's why or like I appear like really grounded, because yeah, when I know I'm just sitting at work having a coffee and doing my emails, I enjoy that, and then I know I will go outside, maybe like today in the pouring rain, and they always say that they can kind of tell that I'm like at peace, and then I'm like, yeah, that's because of my training. And I think that's exactly as you say. Sometimes you struggle, like so many times when I do intervals, I think like, oh, maybe today I will not make it, and then I do make it, and then I just go to work, and it's like everything is fine because I kind of survived the hardest part of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you make it sound so simple, but I think it's not automatic
No,
that,
it's not always like that, but I
yeah.
think you gain more trust the more often you do it, because so many times I thought I'm not gonna make it, and of course there are better and worse days in training, but I think it's like something that gives you a little bit of confidence, then also during the rest of the day, because you're like, okay, it was a hard training today, but I did it, and then you kind of embrace it and take it in your day.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
it's the same when there is a bad race as well. Like last year, for example, when because of my injury, I had to stop at CCC. It was also like the weeks after at work, I also felt like down a little bit. And this year, when it went well, they're like, yeah, everything is fine. So it's not that simple, but it's like having an impact on your life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you seem to be very relaxed and calm about that. And I think that takes practice too. Like it's not automatic. Not every athlete is I think is able to, yeah, focus on running when you're running and on other things when you're doing other things, and be like at peace with where you are and what you do. And
Mm,
it's yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's mainly about that. Like no matter what you achieve, um yeah, it's being content with who you are, and having self-confidence and enjoying what you do.
yes.
But I see that a lot of times, even if from the outside, maybe we achieve big things, like we may win races or achieve titles,
Hmm.
do things that normal people wouldn't do. Like it's not the same thing as being happy and content with who we are. Like
Yeah,
the two
that's
things
true.
don't necessarily go together, I think, and it's something I've struggled with. So yeah, to understand that you found a balance, a way to make it work, is pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's also been a process,
Hmm.
because exactly as you say, there are times where I'm like, even I was questioning myself, why am I not happier? I should be happier because from the outset, everyone tells me I have such a good life. Why am I not happier?
Yeah.
And I feel like this year helped me a lot because I started to work with a mental coach in the
Mm.
beginning of the season. And of course, we talk a lot about races, but also about the feelings after races. And I was also telling her, like, well, everyone was like, so are you so happy? Are you so happy? And I'm like, should I be happier? And then we were like breaking it down, what's like going on inside, and maybe what are your personal goals? Is it really the title, or is it the feeling the title gives you? Or is it not even a title or a podium? Is it something else you want to achieve in that race? And I think it took me, yeah, compared to last year, this year was really great. Last year was really hard for me. Um, and then once you found that, it's really cool. But I also know that it might change again. But I think it helps in kind of, yeah, working on yourself, being honest to yourself, to always reach it, and then always to also be a little bit relaxed. That maybe comes in waves. Like some days are easier, some are harder.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But after some of my best races, uh, you know, coming home and then being just with myself, it didn't mean that a good result made me necessarily happy. Like maybe I was already thinking about the next thing, or
Yeah,
I was thinking what I could improve, or yeah, just not being able to fully appreciate the moment. And I think there is a reflection that you shared after CCC that really struck me. You wrote, Finishing on the podium can support, open doors, create visibility. In my opinion, that fades quickly once you're out there on a never-ending uphill, questioning life, wondering how much longer you can hold on to this. A medal is only worth the value you give it. The personal goals we set for a race remain what we want to feel like when finishing. Knowing what I'm going for, a version of myself that developed with every experience made, and a version that I'm proud of, far from the end of the journey. For August 30th, 2024, a lot of things came together and worked. So I think it's just about that, you know. But again, is yeah, like life can feel very empty even after you achieve a medal, you win a race, you finish on the podium. I've
Yeah.
experienced that. So I think hearing those words coming from you, yeah, really made me reflect. And yeah, I mean, congrats for working on yourself and being in a good mental place because it's not automatic.
No. Well, cool. Thank you. It's like so often when I write something on Instagram, I'm like, is anyone even gonna read it? So it's really cool
That's
that
the
then
best
someone
part.
is like, yeah, I'm taking something from it. It's and yeah, in my CCC race, a lot of mental preparation went in because I was like, what do I really want on that day, and what really makes it a good day for me? And that's then, yeah, that's why I think it's true that it's really just a medal because sometimes I sometimes see people at the finish line finishing like place 220 and they look happier than someone in the top 10 because their goal was like, or in their mind, it was like they weren't even sure if they're going to make it. And then maybe their children were there or their friends. And it's like this whole experience. So it's so much what you put yourself, what you expect from yourself. And I think you yourself are usually the hardest
Yeah.
person to impress. So yeah, I took a lot of time also this summer to write down what is it if like no when would I be at the finish and would be impressed at the brand doing an Instagram post or no photographer would be taking a cool picture. What would it be like? No one would know it. When would I still be happy?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we mentioned CCC. Besides the mental training that went into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about the physical training and the race execution. I think it's interesting to reflect on the fact that you went from a DNF in 2023 to a third place this year. You mentioned before that last year you were battling with an injury. Um, so tell us a little bit how the two experiences compare and what was your preparation like for this year CCC?
Yeah, this year the main goal was to qualify for CCC in the beginning because due to my injury, I wasn't able to run any other race end of 2023. And then luckily, the UTMB World Series made this exception. Once you're injured and you have like a letter from your doctor, you can still qualify the first half of the season. Um, and so what we really tried to, or like what I tried to do over the winter, because my injury was quite severe, to really build a network out of like my nutritionist, my physiotherapist, and my coach, and that they are also informed what the other one is saying, so that I can really, once when I start running, be in my best form. So all winter I basically just did running I just did biking and skiing, no running.
Hmm.
So, which was good because where I live, I can do a lot of skiing. And I actually started to run in May, which is quite late because I
Yeah.
did my qualification race in June. Um, but due to like the uphill training in skiing, I think I was very well trained. And then we just had to be careful to not get injured again from going from skis to running. And yeah, I think my coach did a great job in planning like the overall running and training, and then I just went to my physio almost every week to just check if still everything is okay, and if my because I ripped my plantar tendon in the foot, and that it's not going to get injured again. And also when we go back into running, that nothing else in my body gets injured. And then I did, for my qualification for CCC, I did Lavaredo Ultra Trail. And that
Which you
one went
won. I
really,
mean,
yes.
that's
And that one,
something to mention, maybe.
yeah, and it went really well. And I think that was just for my training and also my confidence. It was so important because I've before that, it was like almost 9 or 10 months where I didn't do any race. I was just on skis and on the bike, and I, in my mind, I was like, can I even do like a running race, and can I even go for so long? And so that was super important. And then after Lavaredo, it was just amazing. I had so much confidence and trust in my network, like my physiotherapist and my coach, that I just executed everything he noted, like my coach noted down, like almost to the minute, because I was like, it worked so well for Lavaredo. If I now just stick to the plan, CCC will be fine. And I tried to just not think of the DNF last year. And I don't know, I was just so sure that it's going to be okay and that I'm going to make it, that I trusted really at the process and my coach. And in the end, that was exactly how it worked.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, about the injury that you had last year, was it during CCC, during the race itself, or was it from before the race?
It was from before, and looking back now, I should not even have started
Hmm.
CCC. But I mean, you know how it is when you're in Chamonix. Like I had, like after the World Champs in Innsbruck, I had some problems because I tried different shoes and I did some long runs already hurting, and then yeah, the tendon was already inflamed. And then Chamonix was coming up, and I was already in the Dynafit chalet and in this bubble of Chamonix where everyone is so excited about the race. And my foot was hurting, and I was like, But then I thought, like, I'm already here, and maybe it's gonna work, and then I can start my off season. And then during the race, it started to hurt so bad, and I couldn't even run anymore. And then it got swollen, and then it was, looking back, it was a little bit stupid because then after the race, I had to go on crutches, and I really, yeah, couldn't really step on my foot. But yeah, as you say, as an athlete, you sometimes have such high expectations of yourself that I was like, I'm just gonna do this one more race, and maybe I'm gonna do really good, and then I can start my off season. And yeah, sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I think that's how it goes for most of us. Even if on paper you know what you're supposed to do, what is
Yeah.
really good for you, but then another thing is to actually do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we set really high standards for ourselves a lot of times. So it's hard
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say no, and say no to things, to opportunities, to, like, when you are at the start of a race, not to start,
Yeah.
all of that. How important for you is to visualize a goal, like tell yourself that you're actually able to achieve what you want to achieve? Because I think it's something that I've been reflecting on, like the self-talk that we do, like the narratives that we tell ourselves actually matter a lot. It's
Yes.
something that I've started to realize more and more. Like, if you actually believe you're able to achieve something, it's a lot more likely that you're going to do the thing. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've always struggled a little bit with my self-confidence, and I'm not someone who is very, secure in his own means and all of that. But I'm trying to shift that mindset and tell myself that I'm okay. Like, I can achieve things. I can be just as good as other people. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I deserve to try my best and give myself that chance. So yeah, how does it work for you?
I Yeah, a lot of things you said, and yeah, maybe this. It's like, it's called "Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before?" And it's exactly on those things you said, that sometimes I think it's also maybe a little bit our culture, that so many times we're told to not brag and to not put ourselves before other people. And then sometimes we take that as we shouldn't be confident, which are two totally different things. Like you can be confident in yourself and still not brag and still don't put yourself like above other people. And also, like as you said, I also sometimes feel like it's hard to tell yourself that you're good the way you are or that you are enough. Just as you say, like it's okay if I'm better or worse in some things, but I am okay just the way I am. And I think it makes a huge difference when you work on that. And as you said, the self talk and manifest things and visualize things is huge and so important. And even in that, I sometimes even catch myself in like wanting to do like a positive self-talk, and then I'm like, yeah, but I can't visualize myself like winning because I'm not gonna win, so I'm not gonna go for something. Like even when no one hears it, you kind of lower your standards. And yeah, I think if we all work on that, and my mental coach sometimes says it's like the nice inner voice or like the inner friend, and we should trust our inner friend more, and not just be always the strict version.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. At the end of the day, I you realize that you get to choose what you believe in and what you want to tell yourself. I think we all have this inner dialogue.
Yeah,
If only we're able to listen to it. But how it really works is up to us. Like it's just within ourselves. So we have the power to choose.
yeah, and so often that's like you can still change it. Like so many times in the race, I have this like, maybe you thought you can do this, but you can't, and it's just too hard, and it's too hot, and your stomach is sick, and then you're like, wait, I cannot change that my stomach is sick, but I can change what I think, and then maybe that helps again. And I think that takes practice, the same as like the physical practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even like something that I tell myself a lot during training, especially when I struggle, like I'm doing a hard workout and I'm tired and yeah, I don't know whether I'll make it or not. I try to tell myself, okay, but this is helping me getting stronger, uh,
Yes.
building fitness. Like this is good because it's how it's supposed to be to get better, to get stronger, to
Yeah.
run faster, you know? And it's completely opposite to like beat yourself up because you're not feeling great and not feeling as you expect in that particular moment. So I
Yeah.
think if we reverse this narrative, it's so much more helpful, so much
Yeah.
better
And
for
it's so
ourselves.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very powerful.
Like the last weeks, it was quite rainy, the last days in Austria. So, but every time I ran, I was like, this is going to help me so much for Bhutan, because in Bhutan it's going to be cold, maybe it's rainy. So today it's only 3 hours in the rain. So, and once you have this goal, you're like, oh, cool. And I can have a hot shower afterwards. In Bhutan, I probably can. So, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of be nice to yourself.
yeah. Um, can you share a few moments from the race? Maybe the hardest moments and some of the best moments of
Yeah.
CCC, and also, yeah, go a little bit through the strategy that you had, if you had a plan
Hmm.
before the start, and how you executed the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, the plan was to really do my own race, which is always a little bit hard, and to accept that, especially in the beginning, I will probably not be very upfront because I'm just not a fast starter. And I talked to
Yeah,
my coach that we could try to be like trying to run really fast in the beginning, but then we both thought it's going to cost me too much energy. So we're like, okay, just take the first uphill really easy, or like in your terms, in your heart rate, but don't worry about the other women, and also not how many men pass me. So just do my own thing. And
yeah,
then on the downhills,
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to give a couple of data. You were so the UTMB ranking and splits only give like the overall ranking, which is kind of silly, like not the women's ranking, but you were
Yeah,
118th place at the first checkpoint, Tête de la Tronche. At Grand Colferret, you passed almost 40 people. Then you were 63rd at Champelac, 48th at Triant, 38th at Valorsine, and 29th overall at the
yeah,
finish. So that's
yeah.
pretty good progression.
Yeah, and that was exactly, it's cool that you have the numbers because that was our plan. Because I'm usually quite strong in the downhills. So I was
Mhm.
like, uphill I'm gonna take easy, downhills I'm gonna run and have fun because I always feel if I have fun on the downhills, especially in the beginning, I'm gonna run super fast without needing a lot of energy. And then from Champelac to Trient, just hold on to like my strategy in like going fast downhill if still possible, eating enough, and then from Trient and Vallorcine onwards, just fight. And my vision was always like, even if I'm super tired on the last uphill, treat it like a hard interval session and like give it all on the last uphill because I will make it down to Chamonix once I'm on the last uphill. And I think that was from like the strategy side what worked really well. And it's also a huge mental boost if you still like pass man.
Yeah.
So that was perfect. But what I didn't expect at all, and what happened to me is I had a huge low at I think kilometer 40, and I don't know what was wrong. I suddenly felt like I don't have any energy, and I felt a little bit dizzy, and then this messed so much with my mind because I was like, it's too early in the race to feel like that. What's going on? And then it was exactly what we talked about earlier. I was like, okay, I can't change that. I'm feeling like that now, but relax and just try to run and try to put your mind into a positive space. And then my brother was on the track and I kind of felt a little bit better. And I was telling him, like, oh, I felt so bad at kilometer 40. And all he said was, like, yeah, but you feel better now. So, and then I was like, yes, he's right. So, yeah, let's go. And yeah, and I think it took so much energy then from that low that I recovered, that from Champelac onwards, it was of course super tough, but I knew I'm going to finish and I'm probably going to finish strong because I had such a low in the beginning and I'm still running. And then Trient came, and in the aid station in Trient, I felt of course super tired, but very calm. I focused on my nutrition, I ate some rice, I was clearly talking to my brother, and it was just like, okay, the hardest part is still to come, but I'm gonna make it because I already felt so shit at kilometer 40, and now I'm here. So I mean, I'm gonna make it. And of course, then it helped that I was in the end, I was at third place, and I knew that the fourth place was quite close. But I had such a confidence that I still feel strong enough to push. And I also told myself before the race, because I was really scared that it's going to be super close and that maybe we have to sprint until the finish. And then I told myself, when that happens, that always focus on the people in front of you, not behind you. So don't be like scared and chased, but try to just do your best and maybe close the gap to the people in front of you. And so I always tried to find like another man to hang on to or to maybe even pass and to push harder. And I think that really helped.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I can relate. Like to feel like the one who is chasing and not the one who is being chased
exactly.
completely changed your mindset during the
Yeah,
race.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's not
it
easy
does.
sometimes, but yeah. Yeah, it like running scared to be passed by someone behind you is never good. It's much better to like I mean, the best case scenario is that you're in the front of the race, so you just do your own
Yeah,
thing. But
exactly.
yeah, that doesn't always happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool. How far were you from Martina at Triand, like in the or maybe in the last uphill
I think the
after
last uphill,
Valorsine? Did you have any
yeah,
battle? Because at the end you were just 4 minutes from her at the finish,
yeah, but I,
so it
I
was quite
think,
close.
yeah, but I didn't know that because in Valocin it was I think 16 or 15 minutes,
Okay.
and I thought I'm for sure. not gonna make it, but it was really cool because the people from Dynafit and also my coach, they were, without having told them, had the same strategy. They were always telling me who's in front of me, and then they were just like, just try it, just try it, just try to go after her. And so in the last uphill, I think I was really strong, but I didn't know that I'm closing the gap so much. And I don't think I would have made the other 4 or 5 minutes, but it was still cool to see that I was still doing a strong last uphill.
Yeah. Yeah. It was similar for me because actually I did in my race, I didn't realize I was kind of close to Eli. And like I
Hmm.
was catching up a lot in the last climb, but I wasn't thinking, yeah, maybe I can even get the first place. Like I was, yeah, maybe too much concentrated on doing my own thing. And then, yeah, in retrospect, I don't know if it would have been possible to really catch Eli, but I
Hmm.
understand this dynamic. Also, I think Tony McCann was really suffering in the last section of the race, like especially in Triant on that
Yeah,
climb. She was slowing down a lot. Of course, she had a big gap from a really strong first half of the race, but it
yeah,
wasn't smooth at all, even for her.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. She also told me that she was feeling, I think, quite dizzy in the last aid
Yeah,
station. And yeah, so but that's what I love to talk about also after the race, because I was speaking to Tony on the before the prize ceremony. It's always like, yeah, you get presented like 2 days before the race as like a favorite or like the top 10 favorites, and then people are like, oh yeah, she won, she got third, like we all knew that before. And it's like, no, we still had to run that, and it was a
yeah,
hard battle. Like, it's not that you get on the stage and then 2 days later you're gonna get that place. So you have to really fight for it. And so I think it's even more admirable, also like me admiring Tony, that she survived that fight, because I think she had to really push a lot in the last uphill and the last kilometers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think sometimes it's a little bit disappointing that I mean, we have expectations on ourselves, and we are kind of expected that no matter what, we show up and we, place top 10, top five on the
Exactly. Yeah.
podium, whatever. But it's not straightforward. Like
No.
it's hard every time. It's
Yeah.
uh, it's never trivial, I think. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's
And so
it's
many.
worth pointing it out.
Yeah, because I feel like so many people were like, yeah, you already ran like CCC, and like according after the race, they were like, yeah, so cool that you made podium, but it's like not the biggest surprise. And I'm like, yeah, but it was still super hard. So
Yeah, exactly. Cool. One last technical question on CCC. How did you manage the aid stations, and what was your strategy for assisted aid stations and non-assisted aid stations?
yeah, for the non-assisted ones in the beginning, I took a lot of my carbs in like drinking mix, and then filled up my own flasks, and I used a lot of gels. And at the assisted aid stations, I think I learned a lot from Lavaredo. Lavaredo, I had some stomach problems, so my coach told me to take a little bit more time at the assisted aid stations and to eat while I'm not running. Because at Lavaredo, I was just always grabbing things and eating on the go. And at CCC, at the three assisted aid stations, I really stopped. My brother unpacked, like my brother was my support, unpacked and repacked my backpack. And I was just focusing on drinking and eating some rice while I'm standing, while my body is not moving. And I think that was a big game changer for me. Also for the mind to know, don't stress. You have like 1 or 2 minutes to eat your rice. Everything else is taken care of. And then also knowing this time, I think my stomach will endure a little bit longer due to that. And I think I was really strong on the carbs intake. I managed mostly my nutrition plan as planned.
Very cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you still were, I mean, it looks like you were pretty fast, even at the assisted aid stations, because the UTMB live gives 1 minute 18 at La Folie, 2:35 at Champelac, and 3:28 at Trian. So it's like
Yeah,
7 minutes total,
yeah,
which
yeah,
looks, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's super fast, and it's because my brother and I are like, he's always been my support on the longer races, and so it's kind of like in the 2 minutes we do a lot. So he knows what
Yeah.
to do, and I just eat, and then I think we're still pretty fast.
Do you ever change shoes during a race like that?
No, I always have them on the table, but I like the past I never took them. And my brother is like, every time, you don't want to change shoes? No.
Mhm. Cool. And I also wanted to ask you, besides the race, what's your take on the like overall UTMB week? Like what was your impression about the whole week? Because I read an article on Outside by Doug Mayer. It was talking about how this year's UTMB was very well received by the media, the fans, the audience. Like everyone was pretty happy about it. And like after a tough start of the year, where there seemed to be a lot of frictions and really a fracture between the UTMB organization and the Polaris on one side, and the trail community, the athletes on the other side. Now it feels like the situation has really improved, and the UTMB has made some changes to the regulations. They have like corrected their trajectory. They talked to the PTRA, to the athletes, to some race directors, and there was for example, the anti-doping policy, the prize money that has been improved. So now, like everyone seems to be pretty happy about how UTMB is operating. What was your impression about the whole week?
Yes, I have a similar impression on what you just mentioned, that they learned a lot. I think they tried to make us athletes feel really secure and safe. Like small things they changed one day earlier so that we all have 2 days until the big race day. And also, like whenever we had to wait somewhere, there was like provided shades, there was drinks provided. They tried to inform us early, so I feel like they're really trying to work together with the athletes. And I also feel the sponsors and the brands are similar. They try to do things, but always very respectful and ask you if it's too much or what would work with your schedule. So I felt really happy the whole week and didn't feel super stressed because I always had the feeling I could also say no, and that
Okay.
wouldn't have like an impact on my sponsor or on UTMB. Of course, like the prize ceremony and everything after the race, you don't care anymore. But
Yeah.
before that, I felt this week, yeah, it didn't cost me too much energy. I enjoyed it a lot too.
Cool. Um, what do you think about the media coverage? There's definitely been some criticism in the past with the coverage on the men's and women's race not being equal. Have you had time to watch a little bit, or like, yeah, do you think they've done a better job in highlighting and showing the both the men's and women's race with the same space?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they improved, but it's a good point you mentioned that, because what I felt this year was a little bit disappointing in both men and women's field, that they were focusing very much on the first person. So because I sometimes think there's even a cool battle between like fifth and sixth place. And because it's such a long race, CCC, you could go in like, yeah, while Tony McCann is leading, we watch like say sixth and seventh place, there was some overtaking going on, or like watch a downhill where two women are really close, or like three men or something. Because I think that would also be for the audience be very nice,
Yeah,
because sometimes it's very much on the top one or top three. And I think if they would spread it out to like the top 10 or 15, because sometimes there's still a lot changing, it would be very interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like more passing, like more dynamic story
Exactly.
instead
Yeah.
of like, yeah, for example, what Katie Shai did is super impressive, but she was like mostly alone for the whole time in front.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not always like super exciting to show. Of course, still very important to show it, but there were a lot of other things going on in
Yeah.
UTMB, for example, and of course in all the other races.
Yeah, or at UTMB, I think it was quite interesting this year that so many people had to drop out. So maybe show
Yeah,
like, oh wow, we had a total different change in the top 12 because number 6, 7, and 9 had to drop because of that. And then maybe show the aid station quickly if possible. But just to give that information, and I think that would also transport better to the spectators how hard it is to finish that race. And then it would even show more greatness of Katie or the podium. So I think they could, yeah, show that a little bit more.
yeah. I asked Katie Scheid after her race, um, what was, according to her, the reason for so many DNFs in the men's race, and like not so many in the women's race. Like most of the women's favorite in UTMB actually finished the race and placed in the top positions. Um, have you reflected on that? Like, what is the reason according to you?
Mm. Sorry, I think I missed the last part.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
repeat the last question?
Yeah. Um, so there were a lot of DNFs in the men's UTMB, and not as many in the women's race. Like most of the favorites, I think, finished in the top positions, in the top 10, whatever. Um, have you reflected on that? Like, do you have any good reason for it? Maybe women are just smarter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I reflected a lot and I talked a lot about this with friends and other athletes. And it's just a theory I have, but it's like I don't have any proof or anything. But I thought it could be that women are really going for the race and for finishing the race, and men are going a lot for the game, I would say, and for the ranking. And I think sometimes it could be that when they see their game isn't according to plan, that they might it's just a theory, I don't know of any, but that they might think like, okay, I'm gonna save my legs and gonna do another race, or I'm not gonna put myself through the struggle, while women are a lot of times just like, no, I'm gonna finish and I'm gonna put myself through the struggle. And maybe also in, yeah, as you say, maybe sometimes a little bit smarter that they don't run too fast the first kilometers. And I think at UTMB that's super hard because the start is so fast that you don't overshoot. um, yeah, but that's a little bit my theory that women are going more on their strategy, on focusing on their race, and men are like a lot about the game and what position are they in the game, and if they don't like it, and then there's a problem. I don't say there's not a problem, but then there's a problem. They might give in easier.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to agree with most of the things that you said. Cool. Um, After your race, I think a few days after, you also posted about, um, you acknowledged a few women that impressed you in Chamonix. You wrote that there are still so many out there that I want to acknowledge, and I hope the density and levels are going up. It's so much fun to be part of this growth in trail running on the women's side. Um, I think it always surprises a lot of people who maybe aren't so much into trail running, that like we support and lift other people up. We cheer for our competitors, and we're friends while still being competitors during the race. Um, we're like pretty much all friends. We're a close community. We try to support each other. And to people who are not into trail running, who are maybe not into sports, that's maybe weird, like unusual, strange.
Yeah.
Um, how important it is to support each other for you, and yeah, maybe just mention some people that you really admire and provide inspiration for you.
Yeah, I think that's something so cool about the sport of trail running, that it at least appears a little bit different to other sports, that we all go like we have this common thing that we want to finish the tough race, and it's not like beating someone else but doing your best. Yeah, I think there's this like famous overtakes Marianne, and she's just like, let's go, and passes her. And it's like you can see like the spirit is about both having a strong race and um not, of course you care about the rank, but it's just like very, or it seems very fair, like whoever's best and whoever has the more energy on the last uphill is then winner or second or third. And I find it very cool. And same like Courtney Dauwalter, I mean, she has been so many times winning that race, and then she's just there screaming her lungs out for everyone. But also like in my team and in like the Dynafit team, there has been some people who didn't have such a good race. Like one of my friends from Norway, she's also an athlete at Dynafit. She had one of her toughest race days, struggling with the heat and just, yeah, nothing coming together. And she still finished like much slower than she thought. And I think that's what I admire a lot. If you like don't have the good day, it doesn't work, but you still put yourself through it. And yeah, I think that's just really cool. Or also when I pass men and you really see them suffer on the last up and they're like, yeah, are you okay? And then they're like, yeah, yeah, go, go, because they're like, you're really doing well. So it's like it's nice to see that a lot of people then put their own suffering for 1 or 2 seconds aside to cheer for you, or the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty beautiful. Um, Talking about men, have you ever felt uncomfortable during a race for like comments or catcalling or yeah, like being around with men? I think yeah, like for a woman, an elite athlete, sometimes it's like for us it's easier because we are just out there on our own, but as a woman, you most of the time you are racing with the men. So it creates a little bit of a different race dynamic, I think. Have you ever felt uncomfortable during a race for being around some men?
No, actually, usually it's the opposite. It's very
Mm,
comfortable because you have more people to hang on to and to pass. And sometimes at the start, like the first 2 or 3 kilometers, they're a little bit more aggressive, and it's like they to not let you pass, and then you're like, okay. But especially the last kilometers at CCC or other races, it's really cool to have some man there, to have some support, and to not run by yourself.
cool. Yeah, that's good to hear. Um, do you think have you ever thought that you can be an inspiration to young female athletes coming to the sport? Or yeah, just to people around you. And when like now that you're really building your career, have you ever thought about what is a legacy that you want to leave to the sport, to the people who follow you?
Mm. I think sometimes it's cutting off. Sorry, I heard the inspiration to female young athletes, but then the
Yeah,
very last part.
I will repeat. Have you ever thought that you can be an inspiration to someone, especially to maybe some young female athletes coming to the sport, who maybe watch you and admire you? And also, now that you're really building your career in the sport, what is a legacy that you would like to leave?
Yeah, I think that's a cool question because I actually never thought that would happen. But now, especially this season, I found out there are some athletes that do look up or take me as an inspiration. And I think sometimes I'm maybe a good example because I don't come from like the track or running career since I'm a child. So I'm kind of like a person that jumped into the sport quite late. And then a lot of people write me like, it's so cool that you still manage. And even though like you weren't in track earlier, or you're also, because I think I'm very tall, a lot of people like, oh, it's so cool because you don't have like the typical runner's body or shape, and you still go for it. And I think that's what I would love to leave, that if you think you want to do it, and you think you want to put in the work, then go for it, and don't let other people tell you like you
You can't.
you tall, you don't have the body. And also if you're around people to encourage them, because I had a similar thing with a surfer. I was like, yeah, maybe I'm just too tall for surfing because like all the surfers are so small. And then on the evening, he looked up the World Surf League, and he showed me all the surfers that are 1 meter 80, and he was like, look, they're all taller than you and they're still really good, so you can do it too. So I took that when people approach me, I'm like, yeah, you can still do it. And if you come from track, use this, like use the skills. But if you come from another sport, use those skills, and don't compare yourself always to others, because they might have some skills you don't have, but you might have some skills. So like, try to build your path. And it's not always easy, but I think then it's a really strong one when you go for that.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Um, Last couple of questions, then I will let you get back to your things. Um, there has definitely been a lot of talk about Vincent Bouillard winning UTMB while not being a professional athlete, but is an engineer for Hoka. You're not a fully professional athlete as well because you have a part-time job, but you've still managed some incredible results. So the first question that I have is, how do you balance work, training, racing, and your personal life at the moment? And the second question is, if you had the possibility to go fully professional, would you do it? And in what ways do you think your athletic performance will change?
Good questions. The balance, I think, for me works well because I love to plan. So I then just take my work calendar and my personal calendar and my training calendar and try to align. And I also love to take the initiative in my friend circle. So then I feel like, oh, there's a small run and not a long work day, so we can go for pizza that evening. And the other day I stay home or I train late. So that I managed to find a system there. And the second question I find really interesting, because I think about a lot that often too. Am I often so relaxed because I have other things and I have a job where there's like also deadlines and there's like presentations coming up, that then I put the hard training aside, and also the other way around. Once I'm out of work and into training, work doesn't seem so hard anymore. So I think at the moment it benefits quite well to take pressure off both things, because at a race, I'm like, okay, there's a big budget presentation coming up I have to prepare afterwards. So it doesn't make the race as big. But also, if there's a huge presentation in front of the CEO or something, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing hard races, so I might as well do a hard presentation. So I think it benefits. Maybe sometimes, yeah, the stress or the recovery could be better, because if things come together like an important race and a big presentation in the same week, it's not the best.
Yeah, yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can imagine that you've had some opportunities to really focus on running on your career after this year.
Mm,
So it will be interesting to see how you plan to develop your career and in what ways it will evolve.
yeah,
But
I think
yeah,
it
I
will.
think I was talking to Vincent actually after the race, and he was mentioning how being professional is more like a mindset than like whether you have another occupation or not. It's like how well you're doing what you're doing, how well you're approaching your athletic career, the choices that you're making, the priorities that you have. Is about prioritizing things a lot, I think. So it doesn't matter if you have another job or if you're fully focused on running. If having, a part-time job, whatever other kind of occupation helps you achieve that balance and like plays yeah, like balance recovery and training and racing and everything, and also not let your identity be fully tied with the sport, with running, which is dangerous because results and races can always go well and can go not so well. So to have something else. I think sometimes it's much better than not have anything else at all. So
Yeah.
it's
I think,
not an
yeah,
easy answer.
yeah, that's true. But I think I really like the approach. Yeah, Vincent took that. He says like, yeah, it's the priority, because I think that's then helping you also to structure and to get your sleep, to get your recovery, and to get your training. Yeah, good point.
Cool. So yeah, thanks for the conversation. I think that was everything that I wanted to ask you today, and I don't want to keep you for too long. Uh,
And thank
all
you.
the best for your travel. I mean, I will be following you. It will be super interesting to see your pictures and yeah, amazing landscapes from Bhutan. Uh,
Yeah, I hope
and
so.
then good luck for also your off season.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, thanks.